Good evening, namaskar, and welcome. Welcome to the grandest final table of this edition of the Final Table series. I'm talking about the tournament with the mega guarantee of 2 crore rupees, the FTS Event 31, the main event. My name is Peter Abraham, and I'm going to take you through the star-studded final table. But first, a lot of eyes on that FTS leaderboard worth 30 lakh rupees. So let's take a look at what the standings are at the moment. Right up top, having led for the last 3 days and continues to do so, is Vinay Rajpal playing as Beep Beep, I'm a Jeep. 4,840 points for him. Abhijit Kumar in second place continues in second place as the Supreme One with 4,661 points. Shashank Desai playing as Reconnecting has got 3,936 points. Bhanu Prakash, who plays as Spectre, has moved up the counts a little bit from yesterday. He's got 3,853 points. Suraj Todi playing as Got No Change 31, 3,841 points. Ram Kakkad playing as Johnny Runner, 3,724 points. Ashish Kumar, Notorious Convict 1, has 3,530 points. Mithun Mahesh, who we saw on yesterday's stream playing as Zima Blue, is in 8th place with 3,427 points. Anmol Agarwal playing as Bull Slayer, 3,001 points. And M. Balakrishnan at 2,907 points playing as La Chance. So there's your top 10 at the moment. I don't believe we should see any change in this because none of these players are on that final table. So this is more or less the final leaderboard. But of course, we will bring you a formal announcement of this in due course on our social media platforms. Now, the main event, that 2 crore guaranteed tournament, the one that everyone is gunning for. Lots of prestige in winning this title. And of course, there's pretty big prize money up top as well. 35,000 rupees was the buy-in for this main event. And we had 594 players who registered for the tournament. And now it's down to the final 5. 5, you say? Well, that's because it was supposed to be a 6-max table, but because of a multiple stack by one of the players, that got combined. And so therefore we have 5 players sitting at this table. We'll get to their names very, very shortly, but it's down to that final competition. It's down to this final main event that everyone's been waiting for. The up top prize of 38.7 lakh rupees heading the way of the winner. And of course, it's a little different from a price standpoint because it's not just a gold medallion this time. It's a gorgeous diamond-studded 18-karat gold medallion and a special gift hamper from Spartan Poker. So here are your payouts once again. First place getting 38 lakhs. Second place, 24.4 lakhs. Third place will take home 17.5 lakhs. Fourth place, 13.9 lakhs. And fifth place, 10.9 lakhs. Some of the biggest sharks of the domestic scene have made it to this final table. Now, let's get our commentators into the mix as well and get this show on the road. First up, we have two-time WSOP bracelet winner Kevin McPhee, and one of his teammates from PSL has also made it to this final table. So let's find out who he's going to be supporting today. Kevin, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks for having me, Peter. And yeah, I'm pretty happy to see a familiar name on the final table, an Abhinav Iyer, World Series of Poker bracelet winner. He won the closer tournament for over 500,000, and also APT Vietnam champion, main event champion as well. So he has 2 very nice live scores to his name in the live arena. And we have yet to see him in any of these final tables. He's a good friend of mine, and I've been waiting for his name to show up. So he's coming in with about 20 big blinds today. And I'll definitely be looking at him to try to move up the leaderboard a little bit with some reshoves and pick his spots very well. I'm very anxious to see how somebody so accomplished is going to be playing.
Well, we're all looking forward to seeing players of the caliber of Abhinav Iyer and, of course, the others at this final table. In the meantime, let me introduce our second commentator for this live stream. And we're going to be joined by the very affable Sam Razavi, of course. He won the Player of the Year title 4 times in a row at the Asian Poker Tour. And Sam has watched the gameplay of these players across all the events we've commentated on. And also, he's watched the games where he's not been part of commentary, taking particular pleasure in talking about me and the Doom Switch. But hey, these things happen. And so let's welcome Sam Razavi onto this live stream. Welcome, Sam.
Yeah. Hey, well, I hope my mic isn't muted this time. I always make that mistake when we
You're
start.
good. You're
Doesn't
good.
seem like it. Lovely. Well, it's main event final day. The medallion, the diamond-studded medallion's out. I've been for a swim. I've brushed my hair for once, and I'm not even on the final table. So yeah, we're really looking forward to some action here, and it's great to see Abhinav. Just as Kevin was saying on the final, I was expecting to see him earlier in the series, but he always saves the best for last, I guess. So yeah, it's should be an interesting final table.
Well, Abhinav Iyer is, of course, one of these 5 players that is going to be on this main event of the FTS final table. But let's take a look at the full list of players, starting with Devang Yadav playing as the nerd guy. The 28-year-old Yadav has won the Millionaire Legends on Spartan Poker for 30 lakhs in May 2020. And he also finished 8th in FTS's Sunday special for 1.41 lakhs. So not his first appearance at one of these live streams. And we certainly know that he's got the skills to get right to the finish line. But we'll see what happens as we go along. 82 big blinds is what Devang Yadav has, which is a stack of 8.2 million in chips. It's easy for us to do the math in this one because the blinds that are starting off is 50,000, 100,000. So 82 big blinds for the chip leader here, Devang Yadav. He's followed by a familiar name. We saw him yesterday at the live stream from the Headhunter, Ankit Vadhavan playing as Shipperment. He's second in chips, second in the BPT High Roller for 27 and something lakh rupees. Second in the NPS Super High Roller at Pokerbazi for 16 lakh rupees in June 2021. He's also come 7th in the FTS Headhunter for 95,000. And well, he's the reason why we are playing 5-handed today, because he reached this final table with 2 stacks. And of course, because of that, they got merged on this final table. So not only has he got a double stack in that sense, or a merged stack in that sense, he's also taken 6th place prize money as well, which is 8.5 lakh rupees. So it's just a fantastic final table for this particular player. He's 28 years old. He's got 70 big blinds, a pretty healthy stack. So that's about 7 million in chips that he's got. Next up, one of the young guns, shall we say, from the scene, Sanjay Taneja playing as Apollo 1 is the next player on the chip counts. He won the 2OK from back in December 2017 for 10 lakh rupees. And from 11,000 plus entries at the WSOP Little One for 1 drop, he finished 29th in that particular tournament. So certainly a lot of experience from Sanjay Taneja's side. With 24 big blinds, he'll be hoping to gain some traction in order to make it to the finish line on this one. Next up, of course, the name that both my commentators have mentioned, Abhinav Iyer, of course, India's first bracelet winner, solo bracelet winner, I should say, who is playing as High Troller. And Abhinav has got a stack of 20 big blinds. I beg your pardon, I made a mistake. Sanjay Taneja has got a stack of 24 big blinds. And 20 big blinds is what Abhinav Iyer has. And that's about just under 1.9, just about 1.98 million in chips. Last but not the least, playing as Wallow Wizard is Abhinav Devarakonda. And he finished 2nd in FTS 3.0's Event 21. So already tasted some success in this particular series. He won 3.4 lakhs there. He is the shortest stack with 11 big blinds. That's about 1.1 million in chips. I think we're ready for getting onto the table and all that action. So let's take a look at whether the cards are up in the air. Here we go.
Yeah, and the first thing to notice about this final table is we have 2 pretty big stacks coming in with 82 and 70 big blinds for our top 2 chip leaders. And it's a pretty big drop-off after that. And Wallow Wizard will take down the first pot, coming in with only 11 big blinds, but does take that one down. And he'll really need to make some moves to try to ladder up a little bit here the pressure is on him as the short stack.
And I think Abhinav, if my memory serves me correctly anyway, I think the last time we commentated on him, I think he had made a high roller final or something, maybe in the last FTS. And I think, again, he'd come in as one of the shorter stacks, and he's just one of those players that really knows every gear of the game, and he's going to be a real thorn in the side of every player on this table, I believe.
Well, a flush draw for the nerd guy. That's our chip leader right up top, Devang Yadav. Nice to have the biggest stack and have the flop also favor you in such ways.
Yeah, and I do like the limp of the Jack-9 suited. Fine hand to incorporate into your limping range. I think he's going to be just giving up on this now. It's just kind of a one stab and be done with it. Nerd guy deciding to lead the turn and does get the snap fold from Apollo. So well played by the nerd guy. Adding more chips to his chip lead. Here we have high troller Abhinav Iyer himself open folding the 10-9 suited, being a little aware of the stack sizes and not wanting to be too aggressive on the chip leader's button. Pretty snug fold there. I do kind of like it though, but being aware that as a middling stack you can get abused by the other stacks, which makes it a little less incentive for opening the pretty but not necessarily super strong hands like 10-9 suited.
Yeah, I think Abhinav, more than anyone, is probably fully aware of that, dynamic where people are going to be, the bigger stacks are going to be taking advantage at every inch of an opportunity to apply the pressure. So, yeah, like I said before, watching Abhinav, he knows how to navigate. He knows how to navigate from start to finish, but he certainly knows how to navigate final table with a short stack, and I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
Yes, there's some impatience in the comment section. We are bringing you a contest question. Don't worry, guys. Just give us a minute till we get that from production. We're gonna ask you that contest question very, very shortly.
Yeah, well, the wizard last hand deciding to reshove with the ace-3 against Shipment's button open does get a fold on only a 12 big blind stack. So very thin reshove there. Picks up sixes the next hand, open shoves, and went from 11 big blinds to 17 big blinds in two hands.
Yeah, literally increasing stack by 60% in just a couple of hands.
It just goes to show the power of the reshove, though. If you find somebody who's opening way too loose and you can get some fold equity on those, you're picking up a large percentage of your stack.
Yeah.
Willow Wizard and Iyer neck and neck here, so kind of relieving a little bit of the ICM pressure from Iyer. Still wants to outlast his opponents, but maybe will be shoving a little bit more liberally now.
Well, as the action
I think the contest. Sorry. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the contest question should be how many players have answered a contest question with just their user ID in the whole of the FTS series.
I think we've seen a lot of streams begin with just user IDs, that's for sure. As we see a flop here for both the Nerd Guy versus Shipment on this one, but flush draw for Shipment. That's Ankit Vadhavan playing there as Shipment, his second back-to-back final table here.
And this is really the dream flop when you check back the the 5 deuce off, flopping the pair and gut shot to a straight flush, in fact. I think I would have liked to seen a bet on the flop.
Yeah, likewise. And I mean, Shipperman definitely isn't folding here, but
he does river the full house. Can't be feeling all that comfortable with the deuce. But given the way this hand has played, limp, check, 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 flop, min bet turn, not all that much in the middle.
yeah, I mean, we might see a small bet in the hopes that, you know, Shipperman is going to fold out random, no, I don't know, random, I mean, well, Queen High is quite, has some showdown value against random clubs that aren't, you know, beating your own hand. But this is
yeah, massive overbet on the river, over 2x, 2.5 times size the pot. Yeah, that is a very large bet, and it will be enough to pressure the deuce into a fold. So the nerd guy applying maximum pressure there, really going after what I thought was a pretty small pot with the big overbet, just trying to represent that he had been trapping something pre-flop, and did get the full house to fold. I can never get anybody to fold a full house, so I guess I need to start betting 2.5 times the size of the pot. You know,
I have trouble making people fold pairs, so.
Well, it's time to announce our first contest question, and this time you have to guess this poker quote. We've jumbled up the words of this very popular poker quote, and you will see it at the bottom of the screen as well. You need to arrange the words together to form the quote in the right order. So here it is. The words are: you can't if them beat bluff them. If you know the quote, then type it as a comment in the live stream with your Spartan Poker ID. And if you are one of the lucky 10 winners, then you will get a ticket into day 1A of the UVS Bluffmaster, which will be played. I beg your pardon, that's the Bluffmaster that will be played tomorrow. 1B will be played tomorrow. And that's what you can win. So get your answers in there. Have a look at the contest question, which is scrolling on your screens now. And get your answers into the comment section.
and we have a bit of action here with the nerd guy opening the ace-3 of spades, Willow Wizard finding the ace-queen for the ideal reshove spot. Does get it through. And Willow Wizard's been able to accumulate chips without having to show any hands just by picking some good reshove spots, nearly doubling his stack since the start of the final table.
Yes, that's Abhinay Devarakonda, who's playing as Wallow Wizard, starting as a short stack at this table.
Apollo 1 choosing to limp the Queen 10 here. I think there's probably a fair amount of merit to just shoving and trying to win the pot here. Nerd guy checking back King 8 and getting top pair.
Well, we're seeing a lot of answers in the comment section, but some of you all have written the right answer perhaps, but you'll have not included your username. So make sure you get both of those things in there to stand a chance to qualify. Ace King for Apollo 1 this time.
Yeah, what do you think about that Queen 10, Sam? Do you think you would just be shoving that pre, or do you like limping those Broadway hands?
I mean, I do like limping them, but given this exact situation, I'm expecting, if I'm in Apollo's shoes, I'm expecting to be shoved on so wide that I'm either gonna. I mean, I lean to just shoving there, but I'm in this exact situation. I don't think I'd I'd be limping. I mean, I might try limping, and then if I get shoved on, I've learnt my lesson. I know that he's going to be probably shoving any 2 cards into me, but I don't know if that's too tight. But I'd rather give up that extra half blind than limp fold.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to limp, it's with the intention of folding, and it just feels like too strong of a hand with 2 Broadway cards in your holdings to actually just like limp fold a hand like that. So I do kind of prefer a shove as well. Here we see Abanov trying to get an open through and getting jammed on by shipment. So Abanov getting pretty short here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always frustrating when you're a player like Abhinav used to, or having the chips and taking some control and command of the table. When you're kind of handcuffed with your stack, you're sitting there hoping, to make something happen so you can get in the mix. And
yeah, when he won his bracelet, he was just a massive chip leader, and everybody told me, hey, Abanov's on the final table, come down. And by the time I got down to the Rio, he'd already won. I mean, he completely steamrolled the final table. So a guy that can definitely play with a short stack, expert level though. I mean, it's just most of the time he has a lot of chips going into the final table. So, I mean, he won that tournament so fast. They were already having drinks at the bar by the time I got down. But yeah, he is just a really sharp guy. I mean, when I went out to Goa, he was one of the first teammates that I really bonded with, and I could tell he was super, super sharp guy. This is before his big wins, of course, and yeah, really nice guy. I mean, one of the nicest guys I've met on tour. Just a real genuine guy. You can tell that he loves the game a lot and is always in there registering, grinding. I mean, I haven't met many people that love it more than Iyer, and very deserving of all of his accomplishments because he does work very, very hard on his game.
Well, that's what it takes to win a WSOP bracelet. And, well, we have got one gentleman here who's won a couple of them, another who came really, really close to winning one as well. And I'm sure there's... No, that was not a dig at all, Sam. You should know better.
Yeah.
But it does take a lot of skill and a lot of patience and a lot of hard work to get to these final tables. So I don't think any of these guys are going to let it go without a real serious fight.
Yeah, it's no surprise to see somebody like Iyer here. I mean, he just plays every single day. You know, he doesn't skip any days. He registers for every tournament. He brings his A game every day, and it's just a matter of time before somebody like him makes one of these final tables. Of course, Iyer was also on my team with Sid Karya and Dirty at the World Series. We were on the tag team bracelet together, the 4 of us, and we got pretty deep. So I was really hoping to win a bracelet with him as well. We're going to have Sid in here later today, another one of my teammates. And I'm sure he'll be supporting our Going Nuts teammate from PSL as well.
Yes, and as Kevin McPhee says it, we do see Siddharth Karya joining us on the stream. We'll just quickly check if we can bring him in. Siddharth, can you hear us?
Yes, guys. How's it going?
Awesome, my friend. It's great to see you. Welcome to the broadcast. Of course, you are the winner of this same tournament the last time around, and I'm going to be a little cheeky and say, "Kaisa lag raha hai?" Now that you're here on the sidelines doing commentary on this particular thing.
Yes, I was the winner. Was being the most important word. I gave my best this time around as well. I made day 2, and yeah, my jacks but my jacks were up against King Queen and didn't hold.
Well, I'll leave you 3 gentlemen for a little bit to take the conversation ahead. See you all in some time.
And we see Iyer finding a hand to shove with the ace-4 suited there. Sid, welcome to the broadcast. Nice to see you, buddy. It's been a while.
Thank you. Great to see you too, Kevin.
How's everything been going? How's the grind been going?
Grind's been just... sorry, guys, if you can take the conversation for a minute. I just need to set up something. Haven't been streaming or anything since a while. Just give me 30 seconds.
That's all good. Not much to commentate on here with a couple of garbage hands. The nerd guy does open the 6-3 off from the button, though. Getting in there and applying pressure as a chip leader. Now over 9 million in chips. And beautiful hand for Iyer here in the big blind with the ace-king of spades. But he's not going to be getting any action, it looks like.
That's really unfortunate to wake up with a hand like this. Unless Shipperment really loses the plot.
Yeah, and he does get the walk. Kind of a gross feeling. You're really wanting to climb up the leaderboard here and accumulate some chips. And Shipperment, who has been very aggressive, just too weak of a hand to even open on the button. But this time, he has plenty to open with. The ace-king in the cutoff. Looks like he'll fail to get any action as well.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
Yep.
How's it going, Kevin? Yep, I'm good now.
Oh, life is always an adventure, Sid. I'm down in New Orleans now and had to run away from a hurricane a bit ago. So, but besides that, everything's good, bud?
Yep. Good to know that you were safe during the hurricane. Hi, Sam. Sorry. I was just sorting few things before we get going.
No, that's okay. Your glasses are really clean. You can see the reflection of the screen. And I was just thinking, I'd better make sure it's a good job that you're only watching the the poker. I was just thinking if I ever phone and FaceTime my wife to be aware of that if I'm wearing glasses.
I've been like whoever. Some of my closest friends have always taken my glasses away, and they're like, how can you see through these dirt over there? And they would clean it for me, and then they would give it back. We see pocket nines here with the nerd, who I believe is the chip leader. So the two top stacks, I think, if I'm reading correctly, are going against each other now.
Yeah, that's right. And he elects to limp the nines, and I kind of like limping the middle pairs. Gives you a lot of flexibility, protects your ranges a bit, and this hand just plays so well post-flop against a completely wide range. Interesting, Shipperments doesn't go for the raise with the 7-3. Yeah. I think that's a pretty good candidate to raise a limp with, one of the worst hands that you can have.
Yeah, I think a lot of dynamics are going on. Like, I'm sure if this were not a ICM situation, not a final table, I would always see playing again, having played against Shipment a lot of times, he would definitely raise here, and that would make things interesting. Seeing what would not guy do with his pocket nines, but I think it's an unsaid rule on the final table. We both have loads of chips. We don't want to mess with each other. We just want to get the other players out first.
Yeah.
Unless the player has a huge ego and he's like, yeah, I'm going to show you what's going to happen here. Who's the table captain?
Well, we've seen some of that in this tournament series. We've seen a pretty wide variety of styles from playing the small blind. But here, given the chip distributions, it just seems like these guys are disincentivized from getting in any collision with each other, are going to play probably pretty passive in these blind-on-blind situations, which I like to see. You don't want to be having a huge confrontation with second and chips when you have all these 10 big blind stacks around you. That would be a big problem. Yeah. You see the nines going for little blocker bet here. And an awkward spot for the 7-3.
Yeah. The price was so good. I think that's why Shipment just went for that small call over there. One BP.
I feel like when I'm calling there with the pair of threes, I'm almost never good. I feel like I'd almost consider raising it and just seeing if they can. Yeah, you have great blockers, and you block 2 pairs, obviously, just with having the pair in your hand. You do have the spade. Kind of think just folding or raising. I think I like raising more than I like calling a bit in that situation.
So Sam, how was the? I heard you accepted the challenge and you went for the high garmi dance.
Yeah, I haven't finished the video yet, but there's some great shots. I had this dream of filming it outside, on the beach or somewhere, but it's just I underestimated. I'm used to hot weather, but I underestimated how hot it's been. I mean, there've been some days where it's been raining here, but wow, it's so hot. It's crazy. But yeah, that's coming soon.
Yeah. Those who don't know, there's like everyone knows. Most of the viewers being from India would know that there's this. Just getting to the action, I think having the chip lead shipment is opening up, and as expected, got a shove from the button with Ace Jack. Very clear decision, I guess, over there. What's it, Kevin?
Yeah, Wolo Wizard has had some good spots to reshove and has managed to not even have to show down a single hand yet and survive. So again, picking up on a nice spot there. Ace Jack, super easy shove, but we do see Shipments was opening pretty wide there, only 7 high. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting final table here with these 3 stacks all pretty similar.
Yeah. I think we'll come down to who handles the pressure very well, and I just think that I'm sure I've not seen the stream for the first few minutes, but I'm sure Kevin has already spoken about Iyer, High Roller, being one of the guys. He's won the World Series of Poker Bracelet as well. So I think that handling that pressure, having been in the stage before, having won the big bucks as well, I think it counts a lot, because it mostly, sometimes it's all about, I think, common sense on the final table. But if you've been in that situation before, and if you've won these big tournaments before, I think that gives you a huge edge, because you kind of know what mistakes the other people could make, and also you know what not to do. I think that's also the biggest thing, a very big learning, like what not to do, what not to get there.
Yeah, I remember in 2012, when I was sort of just starting out with live tournaments, I had a really, I had a decent year, and I ran deep in a lot of tournaments and made quite a few finals in quite a short space of time. And I realized it was the first time in a long time that I realized how much I actually learned, because I took so much away every time. And so just in the span of a few months, I'd learned so much in just one set. This is quite an unfortunate turn of events here. 2 pair rivered by the Jack of Hearts.
Yeah, and again, these guys took a pretty passive approach against each other, blind versus blind, being number 1 and number 2 in chips. We saw the 4-3 turn 2 pair and not even lead. Went check on turn. And there's a single small min bet on the river. The Jack high flush will take it down, but again, a very passive approach by these players. I would have liked to see a lead out of 2 pair there, needing a little bit of protection on that kind of board, and value, of course.
Especially when you are still chip leader by 50%, you have 50% more stack than the second guy. So it's not that it's super close. So definitely, even I would have liked to see that.
And Shipment's going for it here. 9-7 off, whipping it in.
Wow.
It's close, but I don't know if it's not close enough. What do you think?
Might work with all the pressure. He'll be in
I mean,
a rough spot. Yeah.
If he turns his hand face up, you probably call. But when everybody's similar stacks, it makes it just so hard to call off.
Yeah.
Chip plus EV. Obviously, normally he would be calling with King 9 there, kind of knowing that shipments would be pretty wide. But just too much at risk there to call off with the other stacks very similar to you. It would be kind of an ICM mistake, and that just goes to show you how wide you can play when you have chips and how tight you have to play when you don't have them.
Yeah, and
we see a defend from high roller. Like many people, we would just assume that you're defending like even worse hands all the time. But seeing the situation, like I'm pretty sure, say a worse jack many times a year would be folding that hand. So a C bet and a call with a gutty over here from high roller. Surely he's thinking of turning it into a bluff on the river if it goes check here.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Wow.
Yeah, just too much equity for him to fold to a min bet on the flop. He has a overcard to middle pair and a gut shot. Of course, we see if he had hit the gut shot, all the chips would have got in. But yeah, could not check call again on the turn. Had it gone check, though, I think you're right, Sid. He probably would have been forced to bluff that hand on the river. Would have been a pretty easy call for the tens, I would suspect. Pocket fours here for Willow Wizard. Should be enough to shove in. Looks like Apollo will have quite the decision here with ace 10. I think probably too strong of a hand to fold here. But he does fold.
And that too without a tank, without thinking. So that shows, I think, that also shows the mindset one would be in, or he would be in this situation.
Yeah, I noticed Apollo Sanjay, right?
Sanjay Taneja
had posted up on a popular Indian forum on Facebook that he was hoping to surprise the commentators with his play today. So be interesting to see how he,
So Sanjay sir has been around since quite a long time as well. I think he must have started playing poker when I didn't even know what poker was. So yeah, veteran for sure. Has been around since while. I also shared a room with him during the World Series for some time. So okay. I know him personally as well.
Well, he does get the shove through with the Jack 10 suited.
Yeah.
And he's got about 10 big blinds. Iyer really in the danger zone now. With about 6 bigs and has ace 10 here in the big blind.
Lovely hand, I think. Knowing Iyer, I think he'll go for it.
Yeah, I mean, just
unless there's a 3-bet from shipment.
Yeah. I mean, hand strength aside, we've seen the nerd guy sort of raise fold about, 6, 7 hands already, and this makes it a bit weird. Yeah, lovely spot though to.
What would you do? What would you guys do in Iyer's spot?
It's a strange one. You know that no one's folding, but I mean, it's just too strong.
Yeah, I think you're pretty happy to just shove, kind of thinking Shippermints might have 3-bet a stronger hand.
Yeah.
Plenty of dead money in the pot, and you just want to get heads up against one player with all that dead money. So I think he's going to be getting called here.
Yeah.
Such a good price.
And wow.
Oh, so brutal. Yeah, Iyer flopping the top 2 pairs. Shipperman's drawing to just the gut shot and does turn Broadway.
I would be like, why don't you just put a king over there and get done with it? Seeing ace 10 on the flop, and then killing him slowly is the worst part over there, I guess.
Yeah, so our most accomplished player, Abhinav Iyer, will be out first.
GG.
In 5th place. Good game, Iyer. Sometimes it's just not meant to be.
Yeah.
Pretty standard spot there. He got a little too short, and just a dagger queen on the turn will end his day.
Yeah, he's still gonna sleep well.
Yeah, it's funny how things go. I mean, this might have been a mistake by me, but if I've opened the Queen 9 and I've got flattered, and then Abhinav shoves and I'm getting 3-1, I'm probably going to isolate the Queen 9 just because of the price that I'm getting, and then I don't know if that's really bad, but given that I've got like so many chips, I'll just take a punt that I've opened the hand, and it's funny how things run out. Obviously, Abhinav would have virtually tripled up there, but I mean, I don't know if that's a mistake. I'm no genius of the online felt. So,
well, it feels like Shipperman's flat calling there is never going to have a hand to call with if you do isolate the Queen 9.
Yeah.
I think they're probably just going to be 3-betting all their strong hands.
Yeah.
But I guess the off chance that they flatted aces, it would be a disaster if you tried to ISO the Queen 9 off, and that's probably why he didn't do it. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of merit to that thinking. You just want to be in there with all that dead money.
So interesting. We see a open and not a jam by Apollo. The first thing I see is I kind of like this from the sense that he's ready to sort of experiment. He's expressing himself. I think Apollo has his plan set out, and he's doing things which wouldn't be conventional as well. So that was just a quick takeaway. When once one does something out of the books or in general sense, I do see a lot of comfort, a lot of security from the player's point of view. That's just my take. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it as well.
Yeah.
Easy to sneak a little cheeky ace-6 off min-raise through on that stack size. Hand that if you do get jammed on, I'd be quite happy folding. Yeah. But you do run a dangerous game, raise folding hands that could potentially just be plus EV shoves. We saw some of that yesterday, people doing that with ace-X, getting shoved on by king queens that might have folded had they shoved, and ultimately folding their better hand. So it can be a dangerous game playing that sometimes, but I think ace-6 off probably a reasonable candidate with the blocker and being by far the worst ace-X that you could have.
Mm-hmm.
I think of Paulo and Wolo Wizard having similar stacks here. The other players, Shipperman and the Nerd Guy, will be still trying to take a passive approach against each other. So it should be interesting to see what happens here with two pretty nice blind versus blind hands, ace-8 suited and eights. I would suspect we see Nerd Guy limping again, since that is the strategy he has been implementing.
Yeah, now I think it's deep enough for Shipment to sort of raise here, I would believe.
Yeah, eight's just too strong of a hand to let your opponent off with a limp. You don't want to have them realize their equity with just a single overcard, and you'll be dominating a lot of their stuff. But he does elect to just check back here again. So again, we are seeing that very passive approach from our two chip leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit too passive for my liking, I think. But
goes for the big sizing here.
He does check call the ace high. Just backdoor diamonds, couple of overcards. Could potentially have the best hand.
And I don't want to. I mean, if you're electing to play so tight against the bigger stack, I think this is a great candidate for a check back. Just given that, I mean, the nerd guy is going to be floating a lot of hands. If you didn't want to get yourself into a confrontation post flop, what are you doing? You know, bombing flop and turn. You can really control the pot and probably get a nice value bet bluff, or in on the end by the nerd guy. We already saw, I don't know if we've hit the half-hour delay mark. We've already seen the nerd guy pile in like a 3x pot bluff early on. But yeah.
Easy jam from Volo Wizard. And yeah, very easy hold for nerd guy as well.
I think Wallow Wizard's been quite fortunate as well to have so many spots where he could to free bet shove, where his opponents just haven't had a. I mean, in some ways, you might find it unfortunate to not being able to double up, but certainly to never have to go to showdown and chip up is definitely something.
The best feeling ever.
And oh wow, I was about to say this is going to happen again, but now.
And snap call by Volo Wizard. This shows the. Oh!
I was about to say only 2 sixes left in the deck as well, and this is
dirty.
Yeah.
Dear. And I hope. I mean, I don't want to call it, but I really like if the nerd guy and Shipperman do get heads up. I really hope that. I hope we're going to see a heads up, because especially if there's much money on the line, and the sort of passive approach they played against each other.
Yeah, it would be good. Then they would be going all guns blazing. Sorry to cut you. Sorry.
Looks like we're going to have another confrontation here. Ace Queen on the button and Ace 10 in the big blind from Shippermans.
And now
see this getting in. I think we do just see a shove here from Shippermans. He's taking his time. Wow, just to defend. Yeah. It is a very good hand to defend. I feel like when you're just facing a 13 big blind open, I just don't want to let them get away with any opens off that stack size. And I'll just play my Ace 10 for value here. But not his flop. No spades on the board.
So had it been when there were 4 players involved, then I think even then Ace 10 suited would have been a kind of more logical to flat. I'm not saying this isn't, but I'm just saying that from the point of view, then that means button's range would be like that as well. When it's 3-way, he knows that button now has kind of nothing to lose. Both of these guys are way ahead, so Shipment might have wanted to jam this. But I think they've played against each other a lot, and Shipment just also thinks that post flop he might be a better player, and not getting a jam and seeing an open from button at that stack might seem very strong to him. So he's just going for the flat over there. Wow.
I think I might be more inclined to shove the Ace 10 when it was four-handed as opposed to flatting, because you apply more pressure. But that's
I hear that. Only thing I was thinking from that, if he's opening, he's that much stronger. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's very solid logic, because if he had Ace 9 or worse, he would probably just be ripping it in. Maybe Ace 9 would raise call, but like a lot of Ace X would just take the 13 big blind all-in shove plus EV shoveness of it, you know. But like when he does just open off of 13 big blinds, you got to think that he's doing it to induce action from worse hands. So I think that logic does make pretty good sense.
Yeah.
A+ analysis from our former champion here. Can see why you were able to get it done last time.
I was able to get it done because I had supporters on the commentating booth. By the way, just a side note, I see very few streams in general. Like once I'm not playing poker, I try to do just other things. But whatever commentating I've seen from you guys and the analysis, especially which sometimes Kevin put out, like I love that, because what I've seen is, or what I'm even trying to do over here is, I love how I think everyone does it, but Kevin, when you look at things from a very, because you played online a lot, you're putting yourself in their shoes, and so like the hand that I got busted, the analysis that you put were, I really liked it, because you said, okay, he's jamming king queen and he's just in a very good spot over there, because he knows whatever, even if an ace jack is calling or tens and jacks, he knows that it's not, you're not dead. You'll always have the equity. So that's exactly what I was feeling, and someone putting it out like that really, I think, adds a lot of value to the viewers, and I love the stream.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. You know, I've played a lot of poker tournaments, but yeah, it's been a fun experience being able to stream with all these talented minds. Sam, very accomplished player, always respect his opinion, and always in here with the flavor that sometimes I lack. So keeping things light and keeping us laughing. So yeah, it's been great. Everybody's been super fun. To all the guest commentators we've had in as well, Richie and Mahima. It's just, you know, it's really really a good time. So I'm looking forward to doing more of these in the future, I hope, if they'll have me back. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun watching all my buddies that I met out in Goa make these final tables. So it's been a good time.
From a personal point of view, I feel like I've noticed myself, I felt I've been quite scatty and sort of losing my train of thought a bit sometimes along the way. And I think it goes to, I mean, I put my hands up and admit that, and I think it goes to show the importance of being involved in poker, not necessarily daily, but I know definitely this last sort of down year and a half, I barely played anything. I don't really play online that much anymore, even if I want so hard in the UK with regulations. You deposit $30 and now they want my birth certificate, my DNA and everything else to be able to deposit anything else. So I found myself in some spots trying, knowing what I want to say, and then suddenly sort of being lost. And I'm hoping to, again, if we come back, hoping to brush up on that, especially after being hopefully in Vegas for a few.
Is there a chance? Are you going to be there for the World Series this year?
Me?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think Kevin is definitely going.
No,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going there by the 28th, but I'm getting a bit of, itchy feet, so I might go in a few days. But I'm definitely going to be there for pretty much the whole thing, try to maximize. That's if I, touch wood, they let me in.
Yeah.
I'm always a bit.
Yeah, that's one of the big questions in my head as well. Like, to go there, I was thinking I'll go via Mexico, quarantine there for 14 days, but I saw a lot of videos, the rules of WSOP not being pro-vaccine, non-vaccine. Lot of things were going on, how you could be ruled out of a tournament, and how there can be many cases. It could be a hub as well, and the whole Delta variant, which which could cause you COVID again, even if you have got COVID or have got vaccinated. So all these doubts didn't make my decision smooth for sure.
And that
Just on that
coronavirus
topic.
update is brought to you by Siddharth Karya, former champion from this tournament itself. Siddharth, thank you so much.
Hi, Peter.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. I've been following the commentary while I've been gone, but clearly these guys are grinding to make sure that they get right up top on that title. So we'll hopefully see you at one more final table soon enough, Siddharth Karya. It's time to say goodbye to Sid, and we'll get back to the action.
Thank you for having me, guys. Sorry.
Thanks for coming, Sid.
Cheers.
Take care. Ciao for now.
And that was Siddharth Karya, who was joining us in commentary for this very same tournament that he won in the 2.0 edition of the Final Table Series. Very accomplished player. And of course, he has quite a few accomplished players at this table as well to see and take a note or two from.
Yeah, and while Sid was chatting with us, we had actually a pretty interesting hand develop there. Shippermint's opening the button, Apollo 3-betting King Queen from the small blind, and then facing a cold 4-bet, a rare occurrence at these final tables from the Nerd Guy, and managed to get away from the King Queen. So Shippermint's button open, kind of saving him there. I think if it had just folded to him in the small blind, we would have likely seen an all-in confrontation. Yeah. But given that action, he was able to get away from the dominating situation. So well played by Apollo in that spot. Ooh. Looks like we'll have some action here.
Yep. Apollo 11, that's Sanjay Taneja moving all in with his 4s.
Wow. Ace Queen picking up a lot of outs on the turn. All he needed was a board pair, ace or queen. But the 4s does hold. Big double up for Apollo 1. Now holding on to about 15 big blinds. So getting back into it here. One more double up and he should be in the thick of it.
And this could be legitimate all in, and
yeah, it's a pretty awkward spot with the ace 5. I think just ace high, you have to pretty much call it off here. We've seen Shippermint's, if he's been watching on delay, we've seen Shippermint's do this same move with 9-7 off, and without any other similar short stacks to him. I think this is probably just too strong of a hand for Apollo 1 to fold. I'm just going to call it off with the ace high here, and if they beat me, they beat me. But I can see some logic to folding here. You really want to be the shover and not the caller.
Yeah, I don't mind both. I think I would definitely lean to snapping off here.
Well, just to remind our viewers that this should have been a 6-handed table, but because of the multiple stacks that Shippermint brought to this final table, they got merged into one, and therefore we are playing 5-handed. The two players we have lost at this table, Abhinav Iyer playing as high troller in 5th for 10.9 lakhs. And the last elimination we saw was of Abhinav Devarakonda playing as Waller Wizard, 4th place for 13.9 lakhs.
Very interesting that he got a combined stacks. I mean, I guess that means everybody at the final table has a lot of history with him, right?
Yep. They must do, because he's played those last two tables on separate tables. So
Sanjay Taneja with a suited King Jack, getting it up there to 400,000.
Yeah, and he did elect to fold the ace 5 before. You know, if you're making these folds that are basically losing chips at a final table in a 3-handed game, it's going to be make things really difficult for you. You're going to get chewed up by these blinds and antes. pretty quick. I think that was a pretty clear call. I mean, he's really looking for a better spot to get it in, but when you're up against a guy who's shoving like 9-7 offsuits and a whole bunch of hands that you're an equity favorite against, you just don't really want to be folding those spots. And we're going to see if Apollo does have a tough time in the short-handed game, because when you're playing that conservative, I suspect that he'll be struggling to find ways to win pots.
Yeah, and the more conservative you play, and the more you're folding. I mean, Shipperman's just going to be shoving any two into your big, so he can hang around for a couple of hands, I guess, but he's definitely going to have to make something happen and change gears. I like to play on sometimes when I've got a bit of momentum. You know, you've just managed to ladder up to the final three. You've got a third of the stack of the player behind you. You've just doubled up, kind of fortunately, with fours when you've dodged all the overcards, then dodged the board pairing, and you've got a chance to then immediately double up again. I quite like to, you know, there's no skill to that, but I quite like to ride the momentum sometimes and sort of push forward when things are going my way.
Yeah, kind of like what we saw yesterday with Slim Shady getting down to 5 big blinds and then just going double up, and then all of a sudden he's heads up with chip lead. You can ride that momentum, but really it just comes down to, obviously, just making one decision at a time. And when it gets down to it, the decision of should I fold ace high, blind versus blind for 14, 15 bigs, I think without any other short stacks, the answer becomes no, you should not be folding it. You should, otherwise you're folding far too much here. I think we should see him defend the king 8. He does go for the reshove. I don't know if this is going to work.
I don't think it worked, but I was gonna say. I mean, it does show how.
Wow, it does
maybe
work.
how aware Apollo might be. If certainly the nerd guy has been, I guess, the most active and open folded so many hands that it was nice to see Apollo redeem himself from the ace-5 fold by finding a. I mean, I don't know if I fold in the nerd guy's spot, but yeah,
I mean, if he's able to get fold equity in spots like that, then maybe folding the ace-5 off isn't so bad, because you really want to, like I said originally, you want to be the shover and not the caller in these spots. And very shocked to see the nerd guy folding a suited ace high there, giving a lot of respect to Apollo's reshoves. And we've just seen the nerd guy raise fold a lot to these reshoves. And Apollo picking up on that and getting, I mean, that's frankly out of line, the king 8 off versus the button raise.
That's just
but
rude.
Yeah, it's definitely making a statement about what he thinks about nerd guy's raise folding range.
Yeah, I guess nerd guy, do you think part of that playing into his thinking is if he calls and loses, he's now really in a fight with Apollo to get heads up with Shipperman. They've got the same stack. It gives Shipperman even more ammo to sort of run over the two players. So I don't know. There's some.
Yeah, it does feel like the nerd guy has been playing to get heads up since the start of the final table. Even when he had the chip lead, he was not applying pressure to the blind-on-blind situations of Shipperman's, really taking a passive approach. And I think that is his mindset. He wants to get heads up. And I hope it doesn't end in the I want to get heads up so I can make a deal thing, because I would really like to see some deep stack play in a heads-up match here. But, when there's big stakes and hardware and glory at stake, sometimes these guys it just alleviates the pressure to make a deal. So when I see somebody taking that cautious approach, like they're just trying to get heads up, I'm kind of thinking, oh, this person probably wants to make a deal, once you do get heads up.
That's what I was alluding to earlier when I said, I hope if they do get heads up, we definitely do see a heads up, because it will be quite interesting. But yeah, there's this isn't there. Oh, okay.
Yeah, 11 big blinds with ace-5. We saw him do this move earlier with ace-6, where he raised. And this is exactly the thing I mentioned there, is like, yeah, you could pass up the plus EV shove, which clearly ace-5 would be there, but by min-raising and, trying to make it look a bit stronger, but then you run the risk of somebody shoving on you with king-high hands, and then you're folding the winner as an equity favorite. And that's exactly what happens here. He opens the ace-5 off, king-queen suited, and the small blind rips it in. And he has to fold the best hand on a very shallow stack. So Apollo now down to about 9.5 big blinds.
Yeah, there aren't many hands I'm just opening on the button with, unless I'm desperately trying to trap with aces or kings or something when three-handed.
Yeah, I think if you're just open raising even like your ace-x wheels and including those in there, you're probably just min-raising too much. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to balance that with strong hands when like every ace-x is now a min-raise fold, So ace-6 might be one specifically to do it with, but then once you start including like ace-4 and ace-5 and these other ones that are clearly plus EV shoves, you're now just going to be over min-raising. It's going to be incredibly hard to balance that with strong hands, and I would like to see a hand like ace shove on 11, or ace-5 shove on 11 big blinds on the button instead of the min raise.
Yeah, and I wonder if Shipperman had such a bad hand last time to shove with. He's kind of making up for it now.
Wow!
We've seen some.
There you are, folks. Our latest casualty, and he's not going to be happy about that. But, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Sanjay Taneja playing as Apollo 1 out on this FT, I beg your pardon. And he's going to take home, let's see, how much is he going to take home? Certainly more than, 17.5 lakhs. That's what Sanjay Taneja wins for that third place finish. And it's now down to heads up between these two players.
And you see Shipperman's getting there with the Jack-4 off, just almost an insulting rip, such a bad hand. And, when he is shoving hands like we saw before, 9-7 off, and now the Jack-4 off, I mean, you really need to be calling the plus EV chip hands, and the ace-high fold earlier, I'm sure he's going to be feeling even worse about. And then once he sees a hand like Jack-4, you're like, really? The guy's coming after me that aggressive? He's just ripping Jack-4. Yeah, then I think he'll be regretting not calling the ace-high previously once he sees that hand.
I think I'd also take into account, whether or not it means anything, but I'd also be taking into account the fact that Shipperman, it looks like...
I think they've made a deal.
It's a deal we made.
As I suspected.
I was going to say, I would have taken into account as well that Shipperman has already locked up 6th place money with his double stack as well. So he's already made a chunk of cash too. So almost more incentive to really get, to sort of get busy. But yeah, as we suspected, a deal.
Well, that's the final result here. We've got Ankit Vadawan playing as Shipperman, who's taken second spot for 29.96 lakhs. And Devang Yadav is placed first with 33.13. I apologize, I've made an error. Yes, apologies for that error. It's actually Ankit Vadawan who's won this tournament, playing as Shipperman, winning this tournament in a deal heads up with Nerd Guy. That's Devang Yadav, who takes second for 29.96 lakhs. And Shipperman, of course, locking this title and 33 lakhs for prize money, along with that diamond-studded 18-karat gold medal. So congratulations to Ankit Vadawan for winning this tournament. And like we mentioned before, this is just an added sweetener, given that he already took home 6th place prize, as Kevin McPhee mentioned. So that's pretty much how this tournament has gone ahead. We're going to take a look at one of the hands that we thought was a pretty interesting one in this hand of the day. And here it is.
Yeah, this is the overbet hand. And the nerd guy managed to pull off a couple of moves at this final table that we had yet to see. We saw a cold 4-bet click back, which we haven't seen, and we saw an almost 3x pot overbet in this blind versus blind confrontation against the second chips. So we just do see the action go limp and a check back. Shipments flops the gut shot straight flush draw with his 5 deuce off. About as pretty a flop as you could possibly hope for, but it does go check, check.
Yeah, with that bottom pair and of course the flush draw. It was interesting. Like Kevin McPhee said, that's possibly the best flop you can expect with Raggy 5 deuce, but it just worked out well enough for him, although we know what transpired towards the end of this hand. Another 3 on that river, on that turn card, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, and I think the misstep for Shipments in this hand comes from just not betting this dream flop, basically. Bottom pair isn't really a great trap hand, and neither is 5 high flush draw. And yes, you can turn, see if you turn your outs, but it just feels like a hand that wants a little bit of protection. You're not too comfortable with anything that's going on here. So I think if this, and when he does check back the flop, it kind of caps his range, takes out some top of range hands. Like you would think your opponent would be betting a 6 or a 3 on this flop. So Nerd Guy kind of deducing that he probably has either a high card hand with a club or just a deuce, and pretty much ranging his opponent perfectly here with 450K in the middle, electing to put about 1.1 million or 1.2 million, somewhere in between there, out on the river, targeting that specific range of high card club hands and deuces with the worst full house, of course.
And of course, we know that Shipperman goes on to let the hand go, which did surprise some of us, well, all of us really, to a fair extent. But then, like Kevin McPhee said, that perhaps not pulling the trigger when he should have was that little misstep that Shipperman made in that particular hand. Nonetheless, though, he is the one who laughs all the way to the bank because he has locked up this FTS 3.0 main event title for a handsome 33 lakh rupees. Done a heads-up deal with Devang Yadav, playing his Nerd Guy, who finishes in second for 29.96 lakhs. And of course, Sanjay Taneja in third place for 17.5 lakhs. Abhinay Devarakonda playing as Wallow Wizard in fourth for 13.9 lakhs. Abhinav Iyer is the first elimination of this table, playing as High Troller. Fifth place for him for 10.9 lakhs. I've been told that we are unable to connect with the winner, so there will not be a winner call today. But what a fantastic final table. What a fantastic series that we've had so far. Kevin, your thoughts on all of the action that we've seen?
Well, for today's final table, the 2 stacks we expected to potentially get heads up did get heads up. And, we saw the other short stacks battle, try to position themselves up, and none of them could really break through, with Iyer going out as our 5th place finisher. Apollo 1 did a pretty good job of laddering up, playing a bit of an unconventional style, but it was just too many chips from Shipments and the Nerd Guy. And as I suspected, Nerd Guy was playing a very conservative, passive approach, really just trying to get heads up to make that deal. And my read was right. We saw them make a deal very, very quickly within the heads up match. Just my takeaway is just, it pays to have chips. It pays to come in and allow other people to make mistakes. I mean, you don't even have to push the action as Nerd Guy did today. He was able to put himself in a good spot, secure a nice payday. But overall, the series has been super fun. I've enjoyed doing commentary again. It's always a good action and fast and furious. sometimes we struggle to keep up and with how fast the action is sometimes, but it has been extremely rewarding experience. It's been really fun. So I appreciate the opportunity and thank all of you guys that have and girls who have tuned in.
Well, Sam Razavi, of course, being a part of this team right from the start. Sam, any particular highlights or moments that you felt sort of were a little more, fun for you in the course of this broadcast?
Yeah, every time I was given the opportunity to go and pull the doom switch and get some coffee, it was an absolute delight. No, but what I was going to say, actually, and it would take us a long time to discuss all the specifics, and I wouldn't be able to pull them up straight off the bat. But what I have noticed over the course of all the final tables in this series is that and it might just be coincidence, but looking at the FTS 1 and 2, there seems to be players seem to have adopted quite a bit more, if I want to use the word discipline. There are some spots where you'd see in previous final tables where you'd see some just wild confrontations. You've seen players sort of, I think they've been really whoever's made the final table of these series, I think they've really been working on their game this last year and a half. It really goes to show how hard Indian players work on their game, and I don't think it's a coincidence. But I've seen over this series as they progress, things that used to be moves that used to be kind of a shock and just unexplainable to me, have sort of become extinct now, and the game is sort of progressing and getting more and more refined amongst all the players. So it's really, really great to see.
Well, there you have it, folks. Thoughts from our co-commentators Kevin McPhee and Sam Razavi. It's been a fantastic series, 10 days of hardcore tournament action from this Final Table Series 3.0. It's been a lot of fun bringing all this action to you. And yes, just a reminder that we will post the winner names in the comment section of our live streams. So make sure you have a look at that before you log out from this FTS live stream as well. I would like to say thank you to all of our guest commentators who have joined us over the course of this series. Richie Harida Soham, Mahima Walia Das, and of course today we had Siddharth Karya, who also joined us, the former champion of this main event from FTS 2.0. And of course, thanks, a lot of thanks to my co-commentators this evening, Kevin McPhee and Sam Razavi. Always a pleasure, gentlemen. And we hope to do this again with you all very, very soon. Till then, it's time for us to say goodbye. But remember, the UVS, the Ultimate Value Series, is currently on at Spartan Poker. And there's more than 1.4 crores in guaranteed prize pools to play for over this entire week of tournaments. So make sure you get in there, and who knows, you could be winning a lion's share of that guaranteed prize pool. Till then, from the production team here and myself, Peter Abraham, it's time to say goodbye. We'll see you on the next one.
This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk.